too. From a technical perspective, because I know that there's some sensitivity to that, the way that we accomplish this, or part of our design criteria in all of this has been, we're not interested in something that's going to run on a $7,000 Macintosh. We're not interested in something that's going to run on a $5,000 or $6,000 very expensive MS-DOS machine. We're interested in something that's going to run on television sets, on Nintendo machines, that will leverage Macintoshes and MS-DOS machines to be creative tools and to be part of the administrative network of how all this works. But we're concerned primarily with developing a new pervasive relationship with information that enables the kind of relationship internally that I've been discussing this morning. So there's an entirely different technology employed here, not only at the interface level, but at what we call the meaning module level, the way that information is molecularized, correlated according to its meaningful relationships in a different kind of space, a different kind of geometry, if you will, of the relationship of learning materials that enables the hardware and software systems used to manipulate them to be entirely more efficient than existing file structures or databases. So that from a technical perspective, if you're familiar with the problems of a low-speed network, modems and so forth providing computer data, this is going to be an entirely new and more efficient way to orchestrate the flow of information to sustain learning experiences than the database and file structures of today. And we'll try to get into some of that after lunch for those that are technically interested in how that part of it works. There's a lot more to the interface, the authoring tools, and a series of other technologies, which we'll talk about over lunch or after lunch. Go back here. But before I go any further, just to kind of wrap up, I would tell one other story, I guess, and then we can come back after lunch and go more into the specifics of how the technology functions. Right in the very beginning of all of this project, from a technological perspective, I had this pen. I envisioned a scenario whereby something the size of this, right, could be connected to all of the databases of the world, shine pictures on the wall or whatever it is, kind of image you wanted to see. You could talk to it, it could talk to you. That it was a hardware device capable of all of that, right? And then I envisioned giving it to a 4-year-old. This comes down to the question of where's the legitimacy in curriculum, right? Because if I give it to a 4-year-old, they're going to have a lot of fun with it, you know. But how will it engage them in a way that unfolds their experiences in a way that really facilitates some competencies that are requisite in the world that we live in? There is a need for curriculum. There is a need for intentional facilitation. I just think we got too broad a license there right now. Yeah? The next point about this was that once all the technology could do that, what is the relationship? What is the way that given the fact that it had the hardware capability and the software capability and the communication capability, and this is all hypothetical, although it's not that far away, then the question became not so much the technology, put that aside a second, what's the relationship between somebody who's learning and this, whatever this is, right? Today it's a computer, but later it's the libraries of the world available in something that somebody has like this. What's their relationship with it? How is it that they interact with it in a way that allows the interaction, the individual, to have the kind of quality of learning experience we've been describing, and for this system to respond in a way that isn't forcing them down some wrong path, down some wrong process, some internally inappropriate way of learning. So what's the relationship between, as if we had it in the room, every resource for learning in the world's right here in the room with us, right? How is it that we can relate to it? What kind of new relationship can we bring about between those resources and us as individuals, so that the primary thing of those resources We don't put all the value there. Once we had them all, they wouldn't have any value anymore. It would be how we could move through them that would have the value. So how is it that we can relate to them that will help us learn how to move through them better? That's the real question that I'm interested in. And we'll go more into that in the technology side after lunch. Okay.
Wow.
Okay, we stopped at a point just before I was really going to start to go into the technology and what kind of relationships implied in the technology. And is that? I don't have that. My cheat sheet, just in case I need it.
Oh, I picked the cheat sheet up.
Okay.
And I was wondering
I guess before going in, just because we have broke for a while, and it's real important to me that we kind of carry the real gist of what we were talking about before into our look at the technology. I'd cycle back for a second and just lay a couple of more ground points down, and then we can go off. Everything really is a placeholder. That when we look at this screen and the things I'm going to show you, I'm not demonstrating for you a particular product right now or a particular technology. I'm demonstrating and experimenting with this window that a learner can be on one side of and the world of information and resources can be on the other side of. And I'm saying this is a step towards us learning how that relationship can happen. It's not, this is the right icon to do this with, or this is the right way the screen ought to be. Those are all very trivial issues. We can deal with all those things very easily. The thing that I'm concerned with is what's the right kind of relationship? And by that I mean the relationship where the world on the other side of the magic window, okay, is unfolding in response to this articulation of what my learning needs are on the part of the learner. It's that relationship that I'm really trying to get at in the demonstration. What I am showing you is a functional prototype. In other words, it's not just a simulator that's pre-canned. It's a fully functional prototype. It's got some limitations. It's not a full-blown product, but it's going to be, and it's going to work very much like what we're showing you, although it may look a little bit different, and it certainly will run, as I said earlier, on a number of different kinds of machines. What we're showing here is, again, a television projection originating from a Macintosh computer. And the screen, despite being a very good screen for a big screen, the way that this is working, is very poor with respect to what the quality would look like if you could see the computer monitor. So I'll lay that caveat down as well. So again, one other thing which will maybe, one other little story that will maybe get all of the things we talked about before kind of back in focus so that we can move from them, is another little kid story, another kid observation that was really special for me, and that's in fact written about in this article that I left on the table. And this goes 3 or 4 years ago. Darren had grown up quite a bit from where we left him in our stories, and was very into Nintendo games. His older brother was into Nintendo, and Nintendo was, you know, I don't know what it's like here, but kids really like playing Nintendo. And it was, because I was so interested in learning, I was really interested in engagement. What is it that really draws somebody into being engaged? That's really easy to do with, it's arguably easier to do with the way movies work and television programs work that kind of entrain us to kind of stay with them and engage our attention in a way that that's still pretty passive in terms of who's watching and what they're doing to participate in it. But the Nintendo experience was something altogether different. I mean, these kids really got into it. They really, really enjoyed it. And as I started to look at it, and really, what I did was invite a bunch of kids over and hook the output of the Nintendo machine up through a VCR so I could record those screens, and then put hidden microphones in the rooms, you know, and then told the kids to kind of talk about what they were doing when they were doing it, and then kind of disappeared and watched it